My name is Rajan Jolly. I have been working with Naturetrek from last just over 20 years. I look after some of the tours of Indian subcontinent. And today I will be talking about my favorite country, which I had the pleasure of visiting twice in the last few years and love the culture, the history, the people, the food, and above all, the rich wildlife of the country. So just to let you know, I am in Southampton, chilly Southampton, from my home. So let's start with the presentation. So to give you some perspective of the country, it is in Indian Ocean, southeast of India. It's a small island. It is only around, I think it's 4 times smaller than the size of UK, with a population of 21 million people. 71% of the population practice Buddhism. So it's very rich with lovely monasteries, with stupas, with Buddha statues, and above all, it is paradise for nature and wildlife lovers. So we will be talking about our most popular Sri Lankan trip, which is wildlife and history. As the name suggests, we will be focusing on the rich wildlife of the island and also the highlights, cultural highlights of the country. We use Sri Lankan Airlines. It's the only direct flight to Colombo. There are a few more airlines which goes to Sri Lanka to Colombo, like Emirates, Gulf Air, Thai, but they all are indirect. So this is the only direct flight. It takes just over 10 hours and the timings are also very good. We fly in the evening from London Heathrow and arrive next day in the afternoon in Colombo. And on the way back, it's a day flight. So very convenient, very comfortable. But having said that, if anyone has any preference, it can be catered to. We arrive in Colombo in the afternoon and we travel on to Anuradhapura. En route, we'll be stopping at different places to do birding, to stretch, and also to have these lovely, delicious fruits, the papayas, the bananas, and the coconut water. That's my favorite. It's so delicious. We arrive in Anuradhapura in the evening and just sleep and enjoy the luxury of the hotel. Anuradhapura is the sacred ancient capital of Sri Lanka. It is also the 8th World Heritage Site. So very important in terms of religion, in terms of Buddhism. And the ruins which are there are all very well kept. We'll be visiting a few monuments there, but we'll be also visiting this lovely place which is very holy for Buddhist, for the whole for the country. When you go there, you will see a lot of locals, a lot of Buddhists chanting, praying. The atmosphere is very nice. The reason is this holy fig tree. The roots of this tree were brought from India, from a place called Sarnath, where Lord Buddha got his enlightenment. And it is 2200 years old. So it is the oldest tree, and people believe you go and if you pray there, all your wishes will come true. So it's a lovely place to go and wish. This is the hotel where we stay in Anuradhapura. On this tour, we use different ranges of hotels. So we use small family-run hotels, heritage hotels, standard, and some with a bit of a luxury. And this is one of them. From Anuradhapura, we give an optional extension to visit Polonnaruwa, which is only an hour's drive from Anuradhapura, and we go to see different monuments. But this is the most famous one: the standing and the reclining Buddha. This reclining Buddha is 14 meters long and is carved from one stone. These monuments were built in 12th century, so you can imagine. And this is the night view on the left. We have more monuments there, which we go and see, and we also do some birding. So it is a day trip, which we organize if somebody wants to see more culture. But let's give culture a bit of a rest and move on to our next wildlife destination, which is Sigiriya. So we'll travel to Sigiriya to look for some lovely endemic species like the Sri Lankan grey hornbill. We look for Sri Lankan wood shrike, Sri Lankan jungle fowl. And this is a place where we also have the opportunity of doing a night game drive to look for some nocturnal mammals. So we'll be looking for fishing cat, the red slender loris. We'll be looking for grey slender loris. So these lorises are only 6 to 10 inches tall. They're not very big. They're mainly found in southern India and in Sri Lanka. They breed around twice a year and have 1 or 2 offsprings. As you can see, they're mesmerizing eyes, but the eyes are very sensitive to light. So they are very active at night. So when we go on our night game drive, we make sure we don't use flash photography. We also look for common palm civet. We'll be looking for giant flying squirrel, jungle cat. So if you like the nocturnal life and you want to see more of it, we have another trip called Sri Lanka by night. And that departs next year in March. And we still have spaces available on that trip. And on that trip, we focus more on the night game drives, on the nocturnal mammals. A very good trip to go on. While in Sigiriya, we can't miss this impressive rock fortress. This rock fortress was carved, as you can see here, back in 1500 years ago. 1500 years ago, it was carved, and you will see some lovely fresco paintings, the king throne, some lovely views from the top of the rock. But yes, you have to climb 1,200 steps to go up. So some of our clients don't want to do it. Obviously, you have to be adventurous enough to go up. Their proper stay is going up, but they're 1,200. So if somebody doesn't feel like going up, they can stay in the grounds, in the gardens of the rock fortress, which are very good for birding. So we have a guide who is there, and he will take you around, and you will do some birding there. This is the hotel where we stay in Sigiriya. We can have lovely views of the rock fortress from our hotel. The rooms are comfortable, ensuite, air conditioning, of course, swimming pool, but lovely restaurant, good food. We will travel on to now Dambulla. Dambulla is the place where we see prehistoric caves. The fresco paintings which you see in the slide, the Buddhas which you see, the reclining Buddha, they all were put in around 300 years ago, but these are all prehistoric caves. So a nice stop before we travel on to Kandy, which is the holy city of the country, because of the Temple of Tooth, which is here on the right. The tooth relic of Lord Buddha is kept here in this temple. So when you go and visit this temple, you will see people offering flowers, food, chanting. So again, a lovely atmosphere. We also visit a botanical garden when we are in Kandy. It is a very well kept botanical garden, amazing orchids, so nice place to visit. In the evening, we offer an option for people to visit and see the folk dances of Sri Lanka, which are really lovely. I have seen it, I loved it. The beautiful colorful dresses, the musical instruments, the colorful dresses. It's a nice few hours folk dances, and then we come back and relax, and next day we start our journey onto the hills. But before we reach the hills, before we reach Nuralia, we will stop in a beautiful tea factory to see how the tea is processed, how the tea is made, because Sri Lankan tea is world famous. So we want to see how they process it, what is first flush, what is second flush, because there's so many different varieties of tea. And we also get an opportunity to taste Sri Lankan tea. So it's a lovely stop. And then we go on to Little England. It is known as Little England because of the whole atmosphere, the hills, the late Gregory, the Victorian architect, the old post office. So lovely place. And this is the only place where you will need your warm clothing. Sri Lanka overall is a very much tropical country. So the temperature remains similar throughout the year. It is in between 24 till 34, depending on when you go. But this is the only place where it drops down to around 10 to 15 degrees, and you will need your warm clothing. From Nuralia, next day in the morning, we will visit Horton Plains National Park. It is only an hour's drive, but we leave very early in the morning to make sure we see the best endemic species which this place has to offer. So there's some lovely endemic species which we can see here. But when we are there, we will also be doing a walk. It's a 8 kilometers walk in a loop here. And it's an easy walk. It's not very difficult. Obviously, we see waterfalls, but again, if somebody doesn't feel like walking, they can easily just stay in that area and enjoy the bird watching. So we'll be looking for the endemic species like whistling thrush. We'll be looking for yellow-eyed bulbul. We'll be looking for Sri Lankan white-eye and the critically endangered purple-faced leaf monkey. So this is very difficult to see, very shy. But on our previous trips, some of our trips, we have been lucky to see them. I think our guides are amazing. They know where they are. And our groups have been lucky to see them, but very difficult to see on most trips. So moving on, we will do the most longest journey on this tour, which is to Tisimarama. It takes around 7 hours, but we'll make it comfortable. We will stop en route again to do some birding, to stretch, and we will also have lunch in a spice garden. So we will see the different spices, how they are grown. We get the opportunity to taste them, and if we want, you can buy some spices from there as well. So it's a lovely stop before we reach Tisimarama. In Tisimarama, we do some birding in the lake, and there's some good species to be seen. But the main reason for stopping in Tisimarama is to reach Yala and have a stop, because it's such a long drive. So we want to give a break in between before we carry on to Yala National Park, which is the most famous national park of Sri Lanka. And very good for leopards. Sri Lankan leopards are bigger, they are not shy, so very good chances of seeing them. And this is the best place to see. In Yala National Park, we stay very close to the park in a place called Cinnamon Wild Lodge. It is next on the shores of Indian Ocean, and from the grounds we have seen wild elephants, we have amazing birding. It is only 5 minutes away from the national park, so lovely place to stay. Comfortable cottages, as you can see in this picture. It's again ensuite, all the comfortable modern facilities are there, air conditioning. And we visit then the Yala National Park in search of leopards. As you can see, they are bigger than other leopards, and there are 50 leopards in this national park. I'm not saying that when you enter, you will see one. You still have to work hard. You still have to listen to the alarm calls, look for the pug marks. The guides work very hard on it. But yes, the chances are good that you will see one sitting on the tree or near on the track or next to the water hole. But as it is such a good place to see leopards, it is very popular, and at the same time, it is very crowded as well. And as it is crowded, and people were going in the past and saying, "Oh, Rajan, it is very crowded. What should we do? We really want to go there. We want to enjoy the wildlife, but we don't want to have hundreds of jeeps around us." So very cleverly, a few years ago, we found another place called Lungamvera National Park, which is only 45 minutes away from Yala, very neighboring park of Yala National Park, and very similar wildlife is seen there. So we see ruddy mangoes, we see jackals, we see leopards, and sloth bears. There are 1,000 sloth bears in Sri Lanka, and this place, Lungamvera National Park, is a very good place to see them. And recently, only the trip which had just come back, the same trip has recently come back only a day ago, and they saw leopards and sloth bear in Lungamvera National Park. And it is a quieter part of the whole national park, so it's much quieter than Yala. So people really enjoyed the experience. We see marshmallow crocodiles, and these are the jeeps which we use for our game drives. So very comfortable, as you can see, and hopefully we will have somebody from the wild accompanying us as well on our lovely game drives. Our next destination is Udawalawe National Park. We stay in this beautiful hotel called Centurion Wild, which is not very far from the entrance of Udawalawe National Park. This national park is the best in whole of Asia to see wild elephants. There are around 700 wild elephants in an area of around 200 square miles. So very high chances you enter the national park and hopefully you will see wild elephants. In Udawalawe, there is a transit home as well for elephants where they are kept just to look after them. So if an elephant is injured or is needy, is brought here and they're fed well, they're looked after well, and they're released back in the wild. And we can observe them feeding the elephants from a platform. So I took this picture a few years ago from a platform. So we were allowed to sit. So without troubling the wildlife, without troubling the elephants, we were just sitting on a side and observing how they were feeding elephants. And when they are in good health, they will be released back in the wild. The tour ends here in a place called Sine Raja Rainforest. It is the best place to see the endemic species. We have a trip called Sri Lanka Endemic Bird Species. And in that, we try and see 34 endemic species of Sri Lanka. And we have been lucky in seeing it. Out of 34 endemic species, 25 are found in this rainforest, in Sine Raja rainforest. 60% of the trees which are found there are endemic to this region. 50% of endemic mammals and butterflies are endemic to this lovely rainforest, and is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Such an important place to visit. So we go on open jeeps till the entrance of the reserve, and from there we do all our birding on foot. And hopefully in the past we've seen flock of birds, we have seen many endemics, especially the star endemic, which is the blue magpie. So Sri Lankan blue magpie is the star bird, endemic bird of Sri Lanka. The flight of this bird is not very good, so it is seen around that area, around that region. We also look for cerebral scops owl. It was founded only recently in 2001 by Deepal, who is a tour leader. The frogmouth, we will look for yellow-fronted barbet, changeable hawk eagle. So that's where we end our tour, and we travel on back to Colombo. We stay a night, and then we take a day flight with Sri Lankan Airlines back home. But with this tour, we offer 2 extensions. So if you have more time, you can look and book the Blue Whales extension, which is a lovely extension to go on. We use these boats for our boat trips in the morning. The boat trips in the morning are for 4 hours. There are no boat trips in the afternoon. So we do our morning boat trips and look for, of course, blue whales, but also look for other whales as well. Sperm whales. In the past, we have been lucky to see killer whales as well. And we have seen spinner dolphins, I think, on most of our trips. So a very good extension to go on. This is the hotel where we stay. It's in a fisherman's village, and there's a swimming pool, all the modern facilities. In the afternoon, we visit Galle Dutch Fort. So Galle is another city which is only around 45 minutes away from where we stay. And in one of the afternoons, we visit this city to see the fort, to see the famous Galle cricket stadium. And with this extension, after it ends, we go back to Colombo and then fly home. But as we keep you so busy with this trip, as you may have noticed, you're traveling to so many different places, seeing so much, we thought, why don't we offer you another extension, which is a beach extension. So you can do both extensions, the Blue Whales and the beach extension, just to relax. So this is the hotel which we use, swimming pool next to the beach, and a lovely place to relax for a few days. You must be wondering what happened to all the lovely food which Sri Lanka has to offer. So here is a picture to tempt you all. My favorite being coconut roti, but there's so much Sri Lanka offers, coconut curries. Having said that, we can cater to all dietary requirements. Vegan, bland, anything you like, it can be catered to. So thank you very much. I will be open to questions very soon after Mugdha's presentation. You can write on the chat. But thank you very much for listening to me. Over to Matt.